Hi, I'm Susie, and you know, nails can be hard to do sometimes, and just when you think you're getting it, you gotta do the opposite hand. I'm gonna give you some tips on how to do that a little easier today. Let's get started. My nails are prepped, primed, and ready to go for acrylic. I've got a few of my favorite forms, and we're gonna get started. Now, I do have a video on forms that will help you out, and I do give a few tips of that every time I do an application like this. Now, here's a great example right here. Do you see this? That is my natural nail missing a little bit on the side. We're gonna bring the acrylic right out from the side there. So we wanna make sure the form is right in there. Now bring the tip together first. I'm gonna pinch it in there for a nice curve. I'm gonna do these almond to match my other hand. Okay, so because I am right-handed, I'm gonna move everything over to the left-hand side because I don't want to cross like this, okay? So I'm gonna open this up, take my lid off to my powder, get myself a good brush. I'm working with an oval 8. I'm gonna get my brush saturated with the monomer. So it is a little easier to work with it a little drier than it would be too wet because you're just gonna be chasing it everywhere. So we're gonna really focus on padding. We're gonna be very concentrated in our moves, and I'll show you. So I'm gonna pick up my first bead. And I'm gonna place it, as you can see, not too close. I want that to release. Now it's being a little stubborn. That means it's a little wetter. So when I pat this down, I'm gonna try to be very specific. I wanna move swiftly because this is acrylic. I don't have time to wait. Cleaning my brush off constantly, and I'm gonna go in and push it a little bit closer to the cuticle. And then when I feel it's close enough, I'm gonna pat it out. But I want you to note that I'm not doing the whole nail. I'm just doing a section because I just can't control that whole bead in this one move on the entire nail. It's just too difficult when I'm using my opposite hand. I am not ambidextrous. I can barely say the word. You can see the cuticle is not perfect. I'm gonna get a littler bead now. See, I'm gonna place it right there as close as I can get it. Clean your brush off immediately. Pat it down, sort of get it in there, but it's starting to cure up now. So I'm gonna have to pull this away. See how it's drying up on me? You can never be as good as your other hand because you're just not, you know, right or left-handed, whichever way you're going. Now you can see that this whole section here is missing. We can add that. Cleaning your brush off completely, and then just being very sure of your moves. There's not a lot of this and this and this. Just be very sure of your move. And you want to make sure that's coming right from that side. You got some move around time there. Just make sure that you can still see I still have a gap missing there. So I am going to add. I'm not going to push the excess back in there. I'm going to make a whole little bead to go into that side there. Okay, I'm getting that little bead and I'm going to put them right in there. See that? And I'm going to push them in there. Like sort of fitting a piece of puzzle in there. And I'm going to blend them out. Cleaning my brush. Every time I leave the nail like that, I am cleaning the brush. Getting rid of the excess on the brush. Okay, now I'm going to add another little bead right here to blend this out. I just don't know if I really got it all. You know what? I know a lot of people like to do a one bead method. When you're doing your opposite hand, don't even pay attention to that. In fact, don't even pay attention to that at all. That is not important. Okay, so you can see it's a mess. But what do you expect? It's my opposite hand. I'm gonna get another bead. Now I'm worried about the arch, the apex, right in here. Gotta make sure that that's happy. If it's not, it gonna break. Especially, it's my dominant hand. So structure is crucially important on every finger, of course, but especially the index finger on a dominant hand. It takes a lot of beading. It's a very busy finger, way busier than the pinky. Pinky doesn't really do much, doesn't get out much, just looks adorable. So I apologize if this looks clunky and not very graceful, but it's my opposite hand. Okay, and I'm gonna add a little bit in here. I want a little bit more for the apex. Bring it right down to the side. I wasn't really feeling like that was full enough, strong enough. It's all about structure. I can file all the lumps and bumps away, right? So we are not looking for a thing of beauty here. Okay, I think we've got ourselves one nail. Here we go. So I'm going to use another kind of form just to show you. All the same outcome, even though they're different forms, right? It's just how you form it. Okay, now this is really tough too. Let me see now. I'm pretty good with forms and even with my opposite hand, but here might be a bit of a tip. Maybe take the tips of it and actually put it together first, okay? That might help. Make sure the back end is open. Make sure it doesn't stick together. And then slide your thumb in there. It's a little sticky, so it's gonna give you tude. And see if you can wedge it right underneath the natural nail. Check your sides, check every which way. Looks pretty good. So if you're having any issues with forms, you can try that with your good hand and your bad hand, doesn't matter. Whatever you do to get that form on there, eh? Stand on your head if it makes it work right. So I do find I'm moving my opposite hand a lot. Because I'm right-handed, it's natural for me to want to move this, and it's quite easily, of course. This hand, this is why I'm saying just be very confident and slow in your moves, because the dexterity is just not as good. So you want to move this one quite a bit. That really comes into play when we're filing. Okay, so I'm getting another bead. Don't go too big. Work with smaller beads. And place him. Don't flood the cuticle. Don't put it way back there. And then sort of just move it. And if you don't make it all the way back there, that's okay. We'll add some more. Turn your brush too. I really find that works really, really well. If your brush is shaped nicely, your brush will work for you. And now I need to pull back ASAP. It's going to start drying right away. It does the moment you form that bead, it starts hardening right up. So if it's not in place, it's going to have a tude. It's going to be thick where you left it, right? I almost lost control of that cuticle there. No, he doesn't want to move anymore. That's it. I'm done. Okay, so I'm going to get another bead and I'm going to do the free edge. Remember, do this in sections. Do not try to do it all in one. Get rid of that dust. Be very, very sure in your move and your decision. It's better to flatten it down and then try to shape it. You can see there's no arch for this. There's no apex. I haven't taken care of any of that. We'll work on that later. Try to get some length in there. And you can see my brush is very limited in my movement on my brush. It's very, very, like, not skilled at all. I'm literally just patting and just trying to smooth as best I can. There's not a real lot of technique going on there. See that? Look at it sideways. You can see that there's no arch. But what I was focusing on was the cuticle area, right? And it'll never be perfect. It'll never be as good as the one when you do with your dominant hand. You just can't. It's just too hard. But you gotta try it. It's a really good way of learning how to do nails, I must be honest. Whenever I'm training my girls, especially the ones that work with me, I tell them to do your own nails. It really helps you become better at what you do. You can feel everything, you can see it, you can see every day the grow out. It's just a great way to do it. Now take a look at this area here. You see that? That's horribleness, right, happening in there. That is the breaking point. That's the structure. So I'm going to take a little bead. Now normally I would just take one big bead and put it over top of the whole thing. But because it's my opposite hand, I got to break this down. So I'm going to take a littler bead. See that little guy? And I'm going to place that little bead right in there. And I'm just going to work this area. I just don't have the skills with my opposite hand to be able to handle a giant bead. It would be a disaster. And if you don't get time to smooth it like that, don't sweat it. That's what filing is all about. Now, don't get me wrong, you guys. I've been doing this for a long time. I can make this look decent like this, but when you're doing it, when you're first learning, ooh, it's gonna look horrible. But expect that, that's okay. I'm gonna put that bead right there. This is my structure. Don't forget this bead. This bead will save your client's nails. See that? It's a pretty big bead I put in there. Now I'm just gonna see if I can blend it out to the tip. And here's a move you can do too. You can go this way if you're comfortable. I've never really gotten into that move, but I have used it on my opposite hand. I don't really use it on the with my dominant hand, but you can see how that can be advantageous. Do whatever you can to make it work. There's nothing more satisfying than when you do get this, then you can solely rely on yourself to do your own nails. You don't have to go to anybody for the other hand. Now, mind you, when someone says, oh, let me see your nails, I am giving them this hand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not giving them this hand because I know that this hand is much better. Look at that. Isn't that adorable? I love that design. Sorry. Focus. When I look at this guy again, he's not bad. Not bad at all. And just let me look down that way. I think I just might need a little bit more in here. Okay. And I'll just look at it sideways. I could pull back this way a little. And I think I'm going to leave that. I can fix that in the filing. That's good. It's almost like a square or coffin, really. That's asking a little too much, trying to make it almond right away. Okay, I'm just going to grab another form here and finish up the other ones. Again, doesn't matter how lumpy and bumpy it is, we'll fix it in the filing. Okay. See how terrible that can look? That's okay. We're gonna file these up now. So don't be alarmed. These can look pretty scary, but if you've got a drill or a hand file, I can take down your lumps and bumps, and that's what essentially filing is all about. There's a nail in there and it's beautiful. We just have to sculpt it. If you have a giant lump, focus on that lump and just go on that lump and get rid of that lump, whether you're hand filing or using an e-file. So the trick that I do, because I'm not ambidextrous, as I said, I cannot work the drill with my other hand. It is basically a stationary unit. I'm just holding it with the drill on, and I'm going to focus more on moving this hand, which I am good at moving at, and the angles. This hand I'm not so good at. So I'm going to, you can see that I'm moving this hand around in all sorts of positions to be able to get the job done, right? Especially that cuticle area. Now sometimes I can brace it and I will move it a little bit back and forth. But that's about as much movement as you're going to get. That's it. And then the rest, I am moving the finger, I'm moving my hand, okay? That's probably the biggest tip when it comes to filing, is move your dominant hand. And you're just sculpting all the lumps and bumps out of it. And I do use my hand file too. Now let me see, I've never really examined how I use the hand file when I'm doing my opposite hand. Yeah, I guess, oh, I do that. Yeah, so I move this hand too. Sometimes if I feel comfortable, I'll do it. It's not as strong, well, it's strong in gripping the client, but sometimes it's not, you know, doesn't have the dexterity to be able to do the right angles and stuff. So move this hand. Like I say, don't be hard on yourself. It's a good thing you're doing it on yourself, right? That's a good way to learn. It took me about a year. When I first started doing nails, I learned to do my own nails right away. And I am so glad I did, but I would say it took me about a year to learn, to really make it look good. I did a horrible job in the beginning. I used to miss all the sides. I used to make it like too narrow. But hey, you gotta start somewhere. So when I get it perfected and all the lumps and bumps where I think it's gonna look great with nail polish on it, I will take a smoother file and try to make it completely smooth. This is not for shaping so much. This is just for smoothing it over. Again, don't look for any grace and style. When you're doing your opposite hand, do whatever contortion you can do to get it done. That's okay. Just want to spray it so you can see without the dust. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to see with the dust. Okay, we got one down. That's not bad. I mean, if I analyzed it, it's not going to be as good as this hand, but nobody's going to tell. Nobody's going to notice at all. Don't be so hard on yourself. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and file up the rest. So just remember, whatever lump and bump you end up having in there, as long as you have enough product, you can sculpt what you want out of it. Now I'm going to add some oil. I am going to polish, so I'm putting the oil on before. You want that to soak right in there. See how it's just soaking right in? I'm going to massage it in over the entire nail and even a little underneath. I'm going to do that with every single nail. It really just gets into the cuticles, make sure all the dust is gone. You can get rid of dust with hand washing, but you've got to oil first. I've done it where I didn't, experimented, and it makes a difference. Oil gets in there where the water does not. So you want to get it all oiled up. And it also brings it back to a very natural, oily surface, which is what your natural nails would be like, right? And spread it around in your hand. This is a really good oil. I really love this company for oil. Okay, now you can get up and wash your hands, but I don't want to do that, so I'm going to just use some alcohol to remove the oil and the dust. Okay, and now I'm going to polish. LECHAT sent these beautiful nudes I was just taking with them, so I'm going to pick one today. I think I'm going to go for something a little more on the pinkier side. So polishing your opposite hand is just as hard. It may even be harder because we can't fix it in the filing. So don't get a lot on your brush. You do want to pull the polish off of one side completely, and then you're going to attack the finger. Now don't flood the cuticle. Pull back a little bit. Go down one side ever so slowly. This is definitely a polish you want to do 2 coats. It's one of those polishes that are kind of like milky, and it makes a difference when you're doing it this way, and also the depth. So how you're kind of hovering over the nail, that makes a big difference in the application. It makes it a little bit tougher, but when you apply this stuff nice, it is absolutely stunning. So again, the same kind of rule can apply where you move the finger. It's really hard to move the hand with the polish in it. Wow, that is a pretty color, but it's gotta go on right. And hence, it might have been a lot easier to just do with the other hand. But hey, this is reality, right? Man, that's pretty. That's very nude tone. I love it. Now don't be too alarmed if it's kind of streaky. We're going to do a second coat, right? Alrighty. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to top coat those and let's check out the nude reveals. Every time I do my opposite hand, I get better and better at it. And I really love it when it's done. It's one of those chores, you know? It's finally done. It looks good. Anyway, thank you for joining me and watching me getting my opposite hand done. And I'll see you guys in the next video.